Well, people always ask me what the secret is. How did you get so wealthy? What's the trick? And they're always disappointed by my answer because there is no trick. There's no secret formula locked away in a vault in Omaha. It's just habits, daily habits, things I've been doing every single day for 70 years, boring things, unglamorous things, but they compound. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. That's your business, not mine. But I can tell you what I do, what I've always done, and you can make of it what you will. These are just observations from someone who's been at this a long time. The thing I do more than anything else, the thing that's shaped my entire life, is read. I read constantly. When people visit my office, they're always surprised. They expect to see me on phones, watching monitors with flashing numbers, having meetings, but mostly I'm just sitting in a chair reading. That's what I do. 5-6 hours a day, sometimes more. I read annual reports, newspapers, books about businesses, biographies, history, anything that helps me understand how the world works. I started doing this when I was a kid. 7 years old, I checked out a book from the library about making money. I was fascinated. I read everything I could find about business, about investing, about successful people. By the time I was 11, I'd read every book about investing in the Omaha library, some of them twice. My family thought I was strange, but I couldn't help it. I was curious. I wanted to understand. That curiosity, that habit of reading every day, it's shaped everything. When I was 20, fresh out of Columbia Business School, I read in a manual that Ben Graham was chairman of this company called GEICO. I'd never heard of it, but I was curious. So I got on a train to Washington, showed up at their office on a Saturday, knocked on the door until someone let me in. Spent 4 hours with a man named Lorimer Davidson learning about the insurance business. That conversation, which came from reading and being curious, that led to one of the best investments of my life. The thing about reading is it compounds. What you learn today builds on what you learned yesterday. The more you know, the easier it is to learn new things because you've got context. When I read about a company now, I can evaluate it quickly because I've read about thousands of companies over decades. I've got patterns in my head. I know what to look for. That only comes from doing it every single day for a very long time. Charlie Munger, my partner all those years, he was even more extreme about this than me. He called himself a learning machine. He'd say, go to bed smarter than when you woke up. Every single day, learn something. He read across disciplines, psychology, physics, biology, history, literature. He wanted to understand mental models from different fields, and that breadth of knowledge, it made him one of the wisest people I've ever known. Charlie used to say that he'd never met a wise person who didn't read all the time. Not one. The people who are truly successful, truly thoughtful, they're readers, they're learners. They're curious about the world. They don't think they have all the answers. They're constantly trying to get a little bit better, a little bit smarter. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to read 6 hours a day like me. I'm retired. I've got the time. But the principle holds. Making learning a daily habit, making curiosity a part of your routine, that changes everything over time. The knowledge accumulates. The understanding deepens. And suddenly you're seeing things other people don't see, making connections other people don't make. The second thing I do every day, and I've done this my whole life, is live simply. I live in the same house I bought in 1958 for $31,500. It's a nice house, comfortable, but nothing fancy. I drive a regular car. I eat breakfast at McDonald's most mornings. I drink cherry Coke. I don't own a yacht. I don't have multiple homes. I don't buy expensive clothes or watches or any of that. People find this strange. They think, you're one of the richest people in the world. Why don't you live like it? And the answer is simple. I don't need those things. They wouldn't make me happier. I'm happy doing what I do. Reading, thinking, working on things I find interesting, spending time with people I enjoy. A bigger house or a fancier car wouldn't add anything to that. I've noticed over the years that the people who feel the need to show off their wealth, they're usually not as wealthy as they want you to think. The truly wealthy people I know, they're comfortable in their own skin. They don't need external validation. They're not trying to impress anyone. They just live their lives. So living simply, living below what you could afford, it's been a daily practice for me since I was young. Even when I started making good money, I didn't change my lifestyle much. I still lived in a modest apartment. I still drove an old car. I still packed my lunch. It wasn't about being cheap. It was about not needing those things, about being content with what I had. And here's what I've observed. When you're not spending on things you don't need, when you're not trying to keep up with what other people have, you've got resources available, resources you can invest, resources that can compound. I've watched people make good incomes and stay broke because they spent it all. And I've watched people make modest incomes and build real wealth because they lived simply and invested the difference. The third thing I do every day is think long term. I don't check stock prices every hour. I don't worry about what the market did today or what some economist said on television. I think in terms of decades. Where will this business be in 10 years? In 20 years? What will matter in the long run? This is hard for most people. We're wired for short-term thinking. We want immediate results. We want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month. But that's not how wealth gets built. Wealth gets built slowly over long periods by making good decisions consistently and letting time do its work. I've never made a short-term trade in my life, never tried to time the market. When I buy something, I'm thinking about holding it for decades, maybe forever. I'm asking myself, will this business still be valuable in 20 years? Will it still have a competitive advantage? Will it still be generating value? Those are the questions that matter. And when I bought Coca-Cola in the late 80s, people said I was late. The stock had already gone up. But I wasn't thinking about the next year. I was thinking about the next 20, 30, 40 years. And over that time horizon, Coca-Cola has been a wonderful investment. Same with many of the other businesses Berkshire owns. I bought them thinking decades, not quarters. This daily habit of long-term thinking, it affects everything. How you approach your career, how you think about relationships, how you spend your time. When you're focused on the long term, you make different choices. You're willing to do things that might not pay off immediately, but will compound over time. You're patient. You don't panic when things get tough because you know temporary setbacks don't matter much in the grand scheme. Now, the fourth thing I do daily, and this has been true my entire life, is I say no to almost everything. People think being successful means saying yes to lots of opportunities, but I've found the opposite is true. Success comes from saying no to most things so you can focus deeply on the few things that really matter. My calendar is almost empty. I don't have back-to-back meetings. I don't have a packed schedule. Most days I'm just in my office reading and thinking that's it. People want me to speak at conferences, join boards, get involved in projects, and I say no to almost all of it. Not because those things aren't worthwhile, but because they take time away from what I actually want to do, which is read and think about businesses. Charlie used to say that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And he was right. Every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment you make is time and energy you can't spend on something else. So you better be very, very selective about what you say yes to. I've noticed this pattern in other successful people too. They're very protective of their time. They don't let other people's priorities become their priorities. They don't get distracted by shiny objects or the crisis of the day. They know what matters to them and they focus on that relentlessly. For me, what matters is understanding businesses, reading about them, thinking about them, occasionally buying them when the opportunity is right. Everything else is secondary. So I've structured my life to maximize time for that. No commute because I live in Omaha, not New York. No big staff to manage. No complicated operational responsibilities. Just me, my reading, and my thinking. This daily practice of saying no, of protecting your focus, it compounds too. Because when you're not scattered across a dozen things, when you're deeply focused on one or two things, you get really good at them. You develop expertise. You see patterns others miss. You make better decisions because you're not operating in a state of constant distraction. The fifth thing, and this one's important, is I only work with people I like and trust. Life's too short to spend time with people who drain your energy or who you don't respect. Every day I get to work with people I enjoy, people who are honest, people who are competent, people who share my values. That's been true at Berkshire for decades. I've never understood people who work with folks they don't like just because of money or status or some other reason. What's the point? You spend more time at work than anywhere else. If you don't enjoy the people you're working with, if you're dreading Monday morning, something's wrong. You're trading your time, your life for something that makes you miserable. Now, I'm in a fortunate position. I can choose who I work with. Not everyone has that luxury, especially when they're starting out. But even then, you have more control than you think. You can choose what kind of organizations you join. You can choose how you treat people, which influences who wants to work with you. You can gradually build a career where you're surrounded by people you respect. At Berkshire, we've built a culture where we trust the people running our businesses. We don't micromanage. We don't have layers of bureaucracy. We hire good people. We give them autonomy and we let them do their jobs. And because of that, the people who work with us, they tend to stick around. They enjoy what they're doing. They're not looking for the exit. This daily experience of working with people I trust and enjoy, it's made my life immeasurably better. I don't dread anything about my work. I look forward to it. Even at 94, I'm excited to get to the office and see what interesting things I'll learn that day. That's a gift. And it comes from being deliberate about who you surround yourself with. The sixth daily habit is about how I process information. I read a lot, as I mentioned, but I also ignore a lot. I don't watch financial news networks. I don't check stock prices constantly. I don't read most analyst reports. I don't pay attention to market predictions or economic forecasts. Most of that is noise. It doesn't help you make better decisions. Usually it makes your decisions worse because it's designed to make you feel like you need to do something, to react, to trade. Every day, I'm filtering out noise and focusing on signal. What actually matters? What's useful information versus what's just entertainment or fear-mongering? The annual letter from a company's CEO, that's signal. The commentary from some talking head on television about where the market's going tomorrow, that's noise. This filtering, this discipline about what you let into your head, it's a daily practice. It takes effort. The world is constantly trying to get your attention. Your phone is buzzing. Social media is pulling at you. News outlets are screaming about the crisis of the moment, and most of it, probably 99% of it, doesn't matter at all for the decisions you need to make. I've observed that the people who consume all this noise, who are constantly checking prices and reading every headline and reacting to every piece of news, they make worse decisions than the people who tune it out and focus on what actually matters. The noise makes you anxious. It makes you feel like you need to act. But usually the best action is no action at all. The seventh thing I do, and I've done this consistently, is I think about opportunity cost. Every day I'm asking myself, is this the best use of my time? Is this the best use of my resources? What else could I be doing instead? This framework, this constant questioning, it keeps you focused on what really matters. When someone proposes an investment, I'm not just asking if it's good. I'm asking if it's better than what I could do with that same money elsewhere. When someone asks for my time, I'm not just asking if it's worthwhile. I'm asking if it's more worthwhile than what else I could do with that time. Usually the answer is no. This way of thinking, it prevents you from settling for mediocre. Just because something is okay doesn't mean you should do it. You should only do things that are great, that are the best use of your limited time and resources. Everything else, even if it's good, should be a no. I've watched people fill their lives with things that are fine but not great, find jobs that don't really excite them, find investments that earn mediocre returns, find relationships that don't bring them joy, and over time, all those fine things add up to a life that's just okay. Whereas if you're ruthless about opportunity cost, if you only say yes to the great things, you end up with a life that's exceptional. The eighth daily habit is patience. Every single day, I practice being patient. I don't force things. I don't chase opportunities that aren't quite right. I wait. I'm comfortable waiting. Most people aren't. They feel like they need to be doing something all the time. They see other people making moves and they feel left behind. But patience, the ability to wait for the right opportunity, that's one of the most valuable traits you can have. At Berkshire, we've sat on huge amounts of cash for years waiting for the right opportunity. People criticize us for this. They say we're being too conservative, too cautious, but we're not going to invest just to be invested. We're going to wait until we find something that makes sense at a price that makes sense, and then we'll act decisively. This patience, this daily practice of being comfortable doing nothing, it's saved me from countless mistakes. The biggest errors in investing aren't usually the things you do. They're the things you do when you shouldn't have done anything at all. Acting because you feel like you should be acting. Buying something mediocre because you can't find anything great. Those are the mistakes that really hurt. I've noticed that the most successful people I know, they're all very patient. They don't rush. They don't panic. They're willing to let opportunities come to them rather than chasing after every possibility. And because of that patience, when the right opportunity does appear, they're ready. They've got resources available. They've got the clarity of mind to recognize it. They can act. The ninth thing I do every day is stay in my circle of competence. I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I stick to what I know. I don't try to be an expert in everything. I don't invest in things I don't understand. I don't pretend to have knowledge I don't have. This discipline, this honesty about the limits of my knowledge, it's protected me from enormous mistakes. People often ask why I didn't invest in technology stocks earlier, Google, Amazon, all those companies. And the answer is simple. I didn't understand them well enough. The business models were outside my circle of competence. Now that meant I missed some opportunities, but it also meant I avoided a lot of technology investments that looked great but turned out to be disasters. Every day I'm checking myself. Do I really understand this? Or am I fooling myself? Am I staying within what I know? Or am I venturing into territory where I'm going to make mistakes? This self-awareness, this intellectual honesty, it's crucial. It's easy to convince yourself you understand something when you don't. It's easy to get caught up in excitement or fear and act outside your competence. The people I've seen get into the most trouble, they're usually very smart people who thought they were smarter than they actually were. They ventured outside their circle of competence and got burned, whereas people who are honest about what they know and don't know, who stick to their knitting, they tend to do much better over time. The 10th daily habit is gratitude. Every single day, I'm aware of how lucky I've been. I won the ovarian lottery by being born in America in the 20th century. I had parents who encouraged learning. I had teachers who inspired me. I had Ben Graham as a mentor. I had Charlie as a partner. I've had wonderful people working with me at Berkshire. I've lived in a time and place where my particular skills were valued and rewarded. None of this was inevitable. I didn't earn all of it. Much of it was luck. And recognizing that, being grateful for it, that keeps you humble. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that you're not as special as you might think you are. I've noticed that people who think they did it all themselves, who think they don't owe anyone anything, they tend to be unhappy. They're always trying to prove something. They're defensive. They're not generous. Whereas people who recognize their good fortune, who are grateful for the help they've had along the way, they're happier. They're more secure. They're better to be around. Every morning when I wake up, I'm in my own home. I'm healthy. I get to spend my day doing what I love, working with people I respect. That's extraordinary. Most people through most of history didn't have anything close to that. So yeah, I'm grateful every single day. The 11th thing, and this might sound strange, but I don't worry much. I've built a life where there's not much to worry about. I don't have debt. I've got resources. I'm surrounded by good people. I'm doing work I enjoy. So what's there to worry about? Stock prices going down. That doesn't matter if you're thinking long-term and you own good businesses. The economy having a bad year, that's temporary. It's happened many times before, and we always recover. This daily experience of not worrying, of sleeping well at night, it comes from the choices I've made over decades. Living simply so I don't need much. Avoiding debt so I'm not beholden to anyone. Focusing on quality businesses with strong positions. Working with honest people I trust. Thinking long-term so short-term volatility doesn't matter. All of those habits, they add up to peace of mind. I've watched people make themselves miserable with worry, worrying about things they can't control, worrying about what other people think, worrying about short-term fluctuations. And it's such a waste. Worry doesn't solve anything. It just makes you anxious and robs you of enjoying what you have right now. The 12th daily thing is simply enjoying what I do. I don't work because I have to. I work because I want to. I genuinely enjoy reading annual reports. I enjoy thinking about businesses. I enjoy the puzzle of figuring out what something's worth and whether it's a good opportunity. If I didn't enjoy it, I'd stop. What's the point of doing something you don't like? Too many people spend their days doing things they hate, waiting for some day when they can retire and finally enjoy life. That's backwards. You should structure your life so you're enjoying it now, today, not waiting for some future that might never come. I've been enjoying my work for 70 years. That's the real success, not the money, the enjoyment. Every day I get up and I look forward to what I'm going to learn, what I'm going to read, what interesting thing might cross my desk. That anticipation, that joy, that's worth more than any amount of money. You can't buy that. You have to build a life where you have it. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not suggesting my life is the right life for everyone. It's not. Different people find meaning and joy in different things. Some people love building things with their hands. Some people love working with patients or students or clients. Some people love creating art or music. The specifics don't matter. What matters is finding something you genuinely enjoy and structuring your life around it. These habits I've described, reading, living simply, thinking long-term, saying no, working with good people, filtering out noise, understanding opportunity cost, being patient, staying in your circle of competence, practicing gratitude, not worrying, and enjoying what you do, these aren't revolutionary. They're not complicated. They're just things I've done consistently for a very long time. And the interesting thing about habits, about doing something every single day, is how they compound. One day of reading doesn't change much, but 50 years of reading, that changes everything. One day of living simply doesn't create wealth. But decades of living below your means, that creates resources. One day of patience doesn't matter much, but a lifetime of patience that leads to much better outcomes. The compounding happens slowly, so slowly you don't notice it day to day. But over years, over decades, the effects are dramatic. The person who reads every day for 30 years knows vastly more than the person who doesn't. The person who lives simply and invests the difference for 30 years has vastly more resources than the person who spends everything. The person who thinks long-term for 30 years makes vastly better decisions than the person who's focused on the short term. This is what I mean when I say it becomes almost impossible to stay poor if you do these things daily. Not because any one of these habits is magic, but because together, done consistently over time, they compound into something powerful. Knowledge compounds, resources compound, good decisions compound, relationships compound, and before you know it, you're in a completely different place than where you started. I started as a kid in Omaha with nothing special. No family wealth, no connections, just curiosity and some good habits I learned early and stuck with. And those habits, repeated daily for 70-some years, they've led to outcomes I couldn't have imagined when I was young. So that's what I do. That's what I've always done. Nothing magical, nothing secret, just simple habits done consistently over a very long time. And you know what? They've worked out pretty well. I'm 94 years old. I'm still doing work I love. I'm surrounded by people I respect. I've got more money than I could ever spend. And I'm happy, really happy. That's what daily habits do, not overnight, not even over a year or two, but over decades. They transform your life. They compound in ways you can't predict, but that almost always work in your favor if the habits are good ones. Thanks for listening. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some reading to do.